Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Kansas Flamingo Chef. It's getting cool outside, it's fall time, and for me, cool weather means soups, stews, that kind of stuff. And one of the things that I love is shrimp Creole. So I'm going to show you how I make it. Okay, let's talk about ingredients. One of the things that I do when I make shrimp Creole is I actually make it in two pans. And that's not counting the rice pan, of course. I'm going to use the large saute pan here for the shrimp. I'm going to actually cook them about halfway before they go into the Creole itself. So I've got a couple of pounds of peeled, deveined, very thoroughly rinsed white shrimp. These are actually Gulf shrimp, but if you want to use the cheap stuff, whatever you like, you're going to combine all these flavors. With the shrimp, we're going to use some garlic butter. We're going to use some garlic. And you can use white wine, you can use water, don't use water, or you can use a cooking base. Now what I'm going to use today instead of wine, I'm going to use the Better Than Bouillon seafood base. If you saw the episode I did with the crayfish etouffee, we used that same product then. Now on the other side, we're going to use, for the Creole itself, a couple of cans of diced tomatoes with the chili peppers, a can of regular diced tomatoes. We're going to use some chopped bell pepper, chopped onion, chopped celery, some Creole seasoning. In this case, I'm going to use Tony Chachere Creole seasoning. It happens to be one of my favorites. We're also going to use some hot sauce. I'm going to use Tabasco, but you can use any kind of hot sauce you like, as long as it's vinegar based. And then to kick it up a notch, or to add some heat, whatever you want to call it, I like a little cayenne pepper. That's really all there is to it, except for a little olive oil in the pan. Let's get started. Alright, so before you cook any Cajun food, you gotta have your Trinity ready. What's a Trinity? It's bell pepper, onion, and celery. So the first thing I did was chop those up into equal parts. So I've got a whole bell pepper, a whole onion, and about an equal amount of chopped up celery. That is going to be your base for your Creole. So before we start cooking the shrimp, we got to start working the vegetables down. So I'll show you what we're going to do. All right, so you can see our two pans. I got the Creole pan here. I've got the shrimp pan over here. We're going to go ahead and get the Creole pan warmed up to about almost fully high heat. I'm going to take a little bit of olive oil and put in the bottom of the pan just enough that it'll spread out and cover the whole bottom of the pan. As that happens, it is time to start with the veggies. So I've got my celery here. I'm going to drop that in. And bell pepper. And then I've got an onion. Okay, I got all my chopped stuff sitting in there ready to work. I'm going to let it sit on the bell pepper or on the oil for a minute. I'm going to add a little bit of the Cajun seasoning. Not a lot. Maybe, teaspoon and a half at the most at the moment. We're just going to let that start warming up. I also like to add a little salt because vegetables need salt. And I am going to add a little black pepper. These are two ingredients that I rarely mention because they're going to be in there. So while that starts to warm up and those vegetables start to cook, once we hear it sizzle and start to saute, then we'll add some garlic. In the meantime, I'm going to show you what to do about these shrimp. Because they're going to start to release some oil and water and cook on their own. Meanwhile, we're going to melt a little garlic butter over here. I'll put a couple of teaspoons of garlic butter in there and let them start to melt down a little bit. Go ahead and stir our vegetables again. Now you don't need to be in any hurry on these vegetables because they're going to need to break all the way down to the point where they're limp and translucent. In the meantime, we're going to keep working on the shrimp. We just want to coat the bottom of the pan with that butter and get whatever liquid you're going to use ready to go. What I'm going to do is use a little bit of this seafood stock. So in this glass, in this measuring cup, I've got about a tablespoon of seafood stock, and I'm just going to mix that in with about 6 ounces of water so that it breaks down as much as I can. In the meantime, we're going to stir our vegetables so they don't burn. Alright, I've got my seafood stock pretty well prepared. Not going to need a lot of this, just enough to cover the bottom of the pan. And I'll keep the rest in reserve because it'll wind up going into the other pot. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and just dump the shrimp right in here. And we're going to add a little garlic to them. This is about a tablespoon worth of garlic, so about 1 clove, maybe 1 1/2. We'll bring the heat up on the shrimp. We're going to cook those most of the way through while we finish making the rest over here. Alright, so you can see the shrimp are starting to cook. You can maybe see the vegetables are breaking down. Turn that so you can see the vegetables there. Alright. And what we're going to do is going to just move these shrimp around. You don't want them to cook 100%. You just want them to get a little color working. Okay, and we'll go ahead and bring the heat down on them to about low. Alright, as you can see, our vegetables are starting to really break down, and you're going to see a little charring going on in the bottom of the pot. So now is when we're going to add our tomatoes. So just take your whole can of diced tomatoes with the green chili and your can of just straight diced tomatoes. Put that in there, stir it around. Now for me, I like my Creole to be kind of soupy. So I want some sauce going on in there. But I don't want it with tomato sauce per se. I want it to have a little bit of flavor. So that's when I'm going to add my secret ingredient, 1 can of V8 juice, just a 12-ounce can. If you can't find a 12-ounce can of V8, just dump some V8 straight out of a jar or a plastic tub. It's okay. Now what you're going to see when you do that is that's going to thicken it up a little bit. It's also going to give you that a flavor that you just can't get without the V8 juice. And if you want to use the spicy V8 juice, absolutely do it. In fact, I usually do, but today I'm using the regular. Alright, so now we're going to add some garlic to our Creole, about 2 cloves. We're going to add some more Tony Chachere's. That's about 3 tablespoons. And I'm going to add a little bit of Tabasco, just a few shots. Okay. We'll mix that together. Now, if you are sensitive to odors in the kitchen, I do not recommend you make this dish, because it will release a lot of oils and aromas as you're cooking Creole. Alright. Okay, now you probably see the shrimp are about done. I'm not going to transfer all this juice. I'm just going to transfer the shrimp. So what you didn't see me do was transfer the shrimp into this colander and drain off all that juice. We're going to put them straight down in that Creole. Mix it all together. Now, if this looks like too much meat to you, yeah, for most people it probably is. You could probably get away with a pound, but I like a Creole that is more meat than it is just vegetable sauce. Okay, the last thing I'm going to add to this for the moment is the rest of this seafood broth. Then we're going to put this on low heat and let it simmer for about an hour. We'll be ready. All right, so it's had time to cook, settle and simmer, taking it off the heat for about the last 15 minutes after it simmered for an hour. We'll take the top off so you can see what that looks like. You can see everything just kind of cooks down. Now I want you to know at about 30 minutes into this, I did add a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And you can add as much as you want. In fact, when it's done, you can taste it and see if it's hot enough. And if it's not, add some more. So most people serve their Creole over rice. I also have seen people serve it over mashed potatoes. I like to do it a little bit different. I like to put the Creole in the bowl and then put some rice on top because it gives it a different look. So I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so let's plate. Here I've got some just simple brown rice. Actually, it's a mixture of white and brown rice that I cooked in the rice cooker. And we're going to take a scoop of the Creole. Put that there in the bowl. Get a little more juice going on. Okay. And then I'm going to take a spoonful of rice. Just kind of drop it over the top, like so. And that's the way I serve it. I think it has a better presentation this way. And bon appetit. Join me for the next one. Always remember, if you've got an item you'd like to see cooked, I'm willing to try. Give me a shout out. Email me at billstout@chef.net. Don't hesitate to let me know what it is you'd like to see me cook. If you haven't seen yet, my son and I just opened the first bottles of Flocktoberfest. So make sure you check out that video, and see you soon.